It's another big slate of college football action across the state.
That it is.
But perhaps no bigger game, at least no bigger rivalry, will be renewed. Well, SMU TCU may have something to say about that.
Maybe, but I'm pretty excited about this one.
I am pretty excited about the renewal of the Bayou Bucket rivalry between Rice and Houston, and the man with his finger on the pulse of the Bayou Bucket is the Houston Chronicle's own Joseph Duarte. Joseph, appreciate your time, my friend.
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
I want to ask you first and foremost. You're covering college football down there in the Houston area, especially the Cougars. Given what's gone on in the past couple of weeks with Hurricane Harvey, when you're around that squad and these squads, what is the vibe around these programs, knowing full well that there's been so much upheaval and turmoil?
Well, both programs have had different paths, I guess you could say, through the storm. With Houston, they evacuated a couple of days before the hurricane hit the coast, so they relocated to Austin. So they missed the brunt of the storm and the flooding. They didn't come back for about a week. But at the same time, I followed them to Austin, and you could see the look of concern and worry. A lot of them were on their cell phones trying to text family, get a hold of loved ones. And that was on Saturday. On Sunday, Major Applewhite gave them the day off. And then since then, they've tried to ease back into a schedule. The first game was canceled. So they kind of used that first week to get everything right. When they got back to Houston, they went and helped distribute relief to the flood victims. And then across town, Rice was on the other side of the planet. They were in Australia playing Stanford. They land at LAX. TCU is generous enough to offer to kind of, play host to them. David Baylor has a relationship there. So they stay there for several days. And then the bad part, Houston players, a few of them had some losses and some things happened, but Rice players really got hit hard. The campus and the parking lots, I believe it was 20-something cars that were flooded in total. At least a dozen or so were completely moved out of their apartments because of water. So, for them, and then they get, that weekend off, and then they went to UTEP. So both teams have been through a lot, just like the city and the region have, but they're excited to get this game played this weekend. And it's the first one for both in the city since the flood.
I know that the city of Houston is just really excited to get back to that kind of sense of normalcy with this game at TDECU Stadium. I want to ask you a little bit about Houston's opener out there at Arizona. They go out and they get a win over a Power 5 program. I don't think anybody's going to apologize for that. There was a little bit of sloppiness at times from Houston, maybe not defensively, but certainly offensively. There's some fits and starts at times. Right. Do you chalk any of that up to kind of the changed schedule? Do you chalk it up to just first game? Do you chalk it up to a new coach? How much of that do you give to all of those factors?
I really think that I chalk it up to the fact that you didn't have that first game against Texas San Antonio, and I really thought that would have been a really competitive game, seeing what they did the following week against Baylor. You don't have the opportunity to work out the kinks, so they went in. They had some aggressive penalties. Major Applewhite said he can take those, but at the same time there were some really dumb ones. So from a standpoint of you go into a Power 5 late night start and you come out with a win, regardless whether it's 3 or by 30, they'll take that. But they clearly, on offense, Kyle Allen hadn't been in a game for almost 2 years after sitting out last year following the transfer to A&M. So a lot of unknowns going into the game, and I think that whole 4 quarters was really them being able to see finally on film against another opponent instead of just going up against each other.
We're talking with Joseph Duarte, the Houston Chronicle, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. And Joseph, they're renewing the rivalry, Houston and Rice, getting back together after a little bit of a hiatus. Is there any, can we glean any sort of meaning behind them being off for 3 years? Because it seems like this should be the kind of rivalry you just pencil in every single year. It seems like such a great rivalry for the city of Houston and for these two programs.
Well, it's been on break twice, both times for 3 years. The first time was after the breakup of the Southwest Conference. It was the final game in the conference history. Rice went to the Mountain West. Houston went to Conference USA. So the opportunity there with the non-conference schedules, it just didn't work out. Finally got a chance to renew it. And then the last game was in 2013, and again, kind of a casualty of conference realignment where they couldn't get the schedules and non-conference to work. But now they've agreed to it. It's a 4-game series, home and home, through 2021. I believe there's 1 year between now and 2021 that they won't play. But for the most part, these schools, David Bailiff's the first one to tell you they want to play it, and they want it to be the first game of the year. I don't know if Houston sees it that way, but talking to Major Applewhite and some of the older types that have been around the program, they see value of playing an in-city team that, while you recruit different players, it still benefits to have that game in the city limits.
Houston's going to enter this game as a pretty considerable favorite over Rice, but I also know that they were probably watching that game out at UTEP pretty carefully, as Rice looked significantly better against UTEP than they did against Stanford. Now, part of that has to do with the opponent, but a win is a win. When you talk with Major Applewhite, do you get the feeling that he understands that this is maybe a team in Rice that's improving week by week?
Oh, absolutely. And Major Applewhite at one point was the offensive coordinator at Rice for one season under Todd Graham, but David Bailiff actually offered him a job when he was at Texas State. And the Longhorns were coming back from that epic Rose Bowl against Michigan, and Greg Robinson told Major, "I'm taking the Syracuse job. Come with me." And he had to call David Bailiff and tell him, "I can't take the job. I'm heading to Syracuse." So, Major looks at Rice, and I think there's a little bit more. Not that they don't pay attention to some of the other programs, but he's certainly got his eye this week. He knows what kind of teams David Bailiff plays, and he even said this week it's not the traditional up-tempo kind of spread Rice that we've seen in the past. They huddle, they slow things down a little, and then they have Brian Stewart on the defensive side as the coordinator, and he's been in this rivalry before. And looking at Sam Stewart at running back, he's coming off a big game. But naturally, Houston's got a great front line, front seven, and they will try to put pressure on the redshirt freshman quarterback, Sam Glazeman.
We're talking with Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle, and Joseph, I want to ask you a little bit about the keys for Rice. We mentioned they're going to be the underdog entering this game, but if they're gonna pull off the upset, what do you foresee being like the major keys for them to be able to come out of TDECU with a stadium with a pretty significant win?
Well, first you lock the hotel door of Ed Oliver's room.
Yeah, right.
And you make sure that
probably
you don't
true.
You don't let him out. You turn off the clock, the alarm, the TV, take away his cell phone, whatever you have to do. Maybe even if you tie one hand behind his back, he's still going to beat you. So that obviously, what they do against him, he was so active and disruptive in that opener. That's one. I think you have to play turnover free. You cannot give Houston opportunities. And I think thirdly, this is just you got to take advantage of. You're playing for your home. They're going to have the nameplates on the back say Houston. This is their opportunity. They always talk about playing for the city. Now, both of them can make that case, but Houston really just takes it to another level with that H-Town takeover. But I really just think that, they want to come out, and they don't really feel like that first game showed everything that they are. Kyle Allen said there were some correctable things that he did. I think Houston fans are really confused and anxious to get out of those bubble screens and little low-risk short passes and see them air it out. But, those are things that I think, if Rice can control and pick their spots and catch a break here and there, they can make it a game. But, I just think in the end, Houston's got more talent.
I certainly think that's correct. Now, I do want to ask you a little bit about the trophy, the Bayou Bucket, which is one of the more unique trophies in college football, and that's certainly saying something in a sport that battles for axes and.
I'll say it. It's ugly.
That battles for this is a sport that has battles for trophies like telephones and axes, and
giant bronze pigs.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about the origin story of the Bayou Bucket?
Well, the Touchdown Club of Houston presents it after the game, and the first game between the schools was in 1971. They played a couple years, and finally in 1974, the board of directors got together and said, you know what? They had a couple of Rice guys on, a couple of former Longhorns players. They wanted to drum up interest in this game. So they got together. They got the approval of the coaches at the time, Bill Yeoman from Houston and Al Conover from Rice. They got together, approved the making of a trophy. They asked each other, what is Houston known for? We need to come up with the name. Delano Womack, who was at one time a running back in Texas, said Houston's known for dirty old bayous. So they couldn't call it the dirty old Bayou Bucket, so they called it the Bayou Bucket. So they had the name. Mm-hmm. So one of the gentlemen, Fred Curry, who was the president at the time, happened to be in Central Texas on vacation with his wife. They stopped at an antique store in New Braunfels, Texas, just outside of San Marcos and Austin. Found one for about $47.50. Said, boom, I've got the bucket. So they brought it back to a friend here in Houston, Buck Sloan. Said, hey, let's make a trophy out of this. And the guy said, well, what the hell do you want me to do with it? They're like, make a trophy. So the guy gaudies it up. He puts those little figurines of the football player and one kicker in the middle and dresses up, pays about $131 for that. So the Bayou Bucket is $179 and about 20 cents. And that's back then. That was probably a heck of a deal. So they've been giving it out since 1974. It's been on Cullen at the University of Houston since, I believe, 2011 or so. But they get excited. This thing has been on display at Houston practice all week, kind of on a tall bar table with a nice red drape kind of tablecloth. And, they look at it. There's not much to see, but they look at it.
We're talking with Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. And Joseph, we just got one more question before you let you go.
Sure.
I don't know if people know this, but your son has a Twitter account. It's at Baby Gavin Duarte.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's 3, correct?
He just turned 3, yeah.
He just turned 3. And you, I'm sorry, not you. That's presumptuous.
Yes.
Gavin describes himself as a former major leaguer and a lefty. So
no, future major leaguer.
Future, not former. Future major leaguer. Future major leaguer and a lefty. Can you confirm or deny the rumor I'm just making up that you tied his right hand around or right arm behind his back so that he would have to learn how to throw and bat lefty?
Well, luckily, Dad is a lefty.
Oh,
but I'll tell you this: the day he was born, within 5 minutes, David Baylor, I was covering Rice at the time, asked me how many toes. I said 10. How many fingers? 10. He said scholarship is in the mail. So I get home about 3 or 4 days later. Sure enough, there's a Rice 2032 football scholarship waiting for us.
Okay.
So David, and I went to David. I said, Mom's probably not going to go for it, so I'm going to have to talk to Wayne Graham. I told Wayne, you're going to have to hang around about 16 more years, so Gavin can play for him. I think Wayne can. So he basically, yes, he's for his age, the kid has some heat, and his location is incredible. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, he's a 2032. He's the father of a 2032 draft prospect, Gavin Duarte. It's Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle. Follow him on Twitter at Joseph_Duarte. Joseph, appreciate your time. Enjoy the game on Saturday, and we'll be talking to you down the road.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on.
There he goes, Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle. Appreciate him talking about
he's the best.
Baby Gavin Duarte as well. Got to give Baby Gavin Duarte a little bit of
give him
love.
a shout.
Follow him on Twitter at Baby Gavin Duarte. Also follow his dad, I guess. I guess. But yes, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for the matchup, the Bayou Bucket, and we'll talk about it in free money at the end of the show. But I'm excited about this game, if only because it's a return of football to the Houston area. It's something that everybody can get excited about. I don't think it's any surprise that Houston is a pretty considerable favorite, but I don't think that necessarily matters. I think most importantly is just getting back to some sense of normalcy there in Houston.
But as the record will show, we're suckers for anything that feels like the old Southwest Conference.
That's also true. These are all also old Southwest Conference.
We've got a couple
rivals
of those this weekend.
Yes.
And that's why we're excited.
Yes, we're very excited about that.
Put on our sepia-tinged glasses.
Man, it's a really nice week for old Southwest Conference rivalries, and it's a really nice week for old Southwest Conference rivalries with Big Dumb trophies.
That's true.
Big Dumb. We are firmly in favor of Big Dumb trophies.
Absolutely.
Iron Skillet, Big Dumb trophy.
Yeah.
Bayou Bucket, Big Dumb trophy. So we're very much in favor of that. So we appreciate Joseph Duarte hopping on with us to talk a little Rice and Houston coming up.